Tonight we're doing this Q&A. So today I received a lot of questions, and I don't think I can able to answer everything. If your question I did not answer, very sorry. If I got time tomorrow, we'll see tomorrow what we can do. But in the meantime, I try to answer as many questions as possible. Good. So, first question. Every retreat seems to be about seeing the rising and falling and the pain. It's like being stuck in chapter 1 without moving to chapter 2. Are there little markers to access progress along the path of Vipassana meditation? Okay. So are there any markers to access our progress? There are. But you may not know it as a marker unless somebody else who is experienced enough to hear your progress. Then we know that you have done something good. Once in a while, you may know it yourself. A simple marker, for example, first 3 days, you come in. What do you get? Nothing much. Sleep and think, and sleep and nothing much. After third day or fourth day, fifth day, then you begin to notice sensation clearer. Noticing the rising, falling clearer, pain and so on. Then a number of you can able to describe your objects much detailed compared to before. Now, in that sense, it shows that there is a progress there. You are looking at still the rising and falling, or the sensations, but then this time you are looking at the different level. It's not just superficial anymore. It's not just that, but now it go a little bit deeper. And every retreat, if you were to practice it carefully, clearly, then you will notice that retreat after retreat, if you actually do the walking and do the sitting, you can see that progress will be there. It takes its time, yes, at times it's quite slow. At times it looks a bit slow, but sometimes we do not see the progress that clearly because it comes in a very gradual, like the rain is going up slowly. You don't feel that you are actually going up. It's more like feeling like just going flat, But actually you are still moving, going up if you keep noticing and so on. You can see for yourself that within a single retreat, that if you really put effort and really stick to the walking and sitting and walking and sitting and walking and sitting, you see after a few days, the mind has less thinking, less thoughts, less drowsiness, more time for it to able to notice what is going on with the sensation or objects. That it shows the progress is there. You can deal with the pain better. You can deal with how to observe the pain in different ways. You can withstand and notice and endure the pain, which is again, it's a development. You can see your objects, not just only rising and falling, but the rising and falling got so many different patterns that is showing it to you. So many different ways is being presented to you because of that clear, alert mindfulness. So it's, you see, progress are there. So these are actually development. There's no such thing as like suddenly you have a sudden jump. Sudden jump. No, there's not in that way. Vipassana is a very gradual, slow progress. So, Next question. Are there some individuals more gifted? For example, have this wisdom root or karmic root or whatever that allow them to faster progress than others? Yes, yes. In a way, yes. But who, how, we really do not know. You know, I've seen yogis that started meditation like 20-year-old, 30 years old. And also I've seen like yogis starting after they retire, or maybe they start at 60, for example, 60 plus. And sometimes the one that in the 60 able to progress better than the 20, 30-year-old. Some of over here, those yogi over 80 right now, they are practicing with them. If I were to tell them their experience, it makes a lot of you, you, you don't, shameful. 80 years old, at least they can practice. They still have the energy and still able to progress. Yeah. So, so how do we know who is having what root and so on? We really do not know. What we know from the teaching of the Buddha is that you have done a lot of good deeds in the past life. What you have done, I don't know. In this life, perhaps you also do a lot of good deeds. You also take care of your morality. You take care of your you do a lot of service, a lot of dana. Perhaps in the past life also you have done some degree of meditation, some degree of dana, and so on. And then in this life, your condition is good. So the moment the Dhamma is shared to you, immediately you can able to connect, and you can develop from where you left off from the past life. Yeah. Then somewhere you left off. Yeah. And the moment that you bring up your concentration, your mindfulness to the optimum level, and very fast the development start coming in. So there's, in a way, you say gifted. It's nothing like somebody is special, yeah. Because that the person has done a lot of deed, whatever that wholesomeness they have done in the past, then it gives you the good condition here. Yeah. So if you create right now, the more condition you practice, you do all these things, and especially you try to purify the mind as much as you can while you're still living, then perhaps next life you are more like gifted, in that sense, because that's where you have been developing here. But we don't wait for next life. All right, make sure that the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha, as far as I know, is this life. Yeah. You do as much as you can in this life. Don't worry about next life. If you cannot expect what is going to happen in next life, unless you're able to cut off or eliminate or uproot the defilements, especially the latent defilements that yesterday what I talked about. Yeah. So in a way, it depends on people. Yeah. How you progress? Let's say this situation right now. Don't talk about, let's say we just cover up the past life thing or whatever that you have done. Let's see over here. There are 4 types of yogis and how they progress in this meditation. 4 types of yogis. And it depends on how strong your defilements or how weak your defilements. The other one is how strong your wisdom factor and how weak your wisdom factor. Yeah? So in all, it can combine into 4 type of person. The first one, the slowest one. Strong in your hindrances and strong in your defilements. And very weak in your wisdom or your wholesome states of mind, especially wisdom. Strong in your hindrances, strong there, and your wisdom power very weak. That means you're going to go super slow, your progress. Difficult for you to develop. Because every time you meditate, so much hindrances, so much thinking, so much sleepiness, and the mind cannot able to know what is going on. Very hard for the mind to go in to notice what is going on. So, slow and difficult. Yeah, slow and difficult. The second type of yogi is that they have strong defilements, okay, strong hindrances, but also strong wisdom. Okay, strong defilements, but also the wisdom is powerful. So what happened in their practice is that they are also bombarded with a lot of thinking and a lot of this one. But the mind is powerful. The noting mind is powerful. They can still able to progress. But the progress have a lot of difficulty. They have to overcome a lot of their hindrances, a lot of thinking, have a mind that is a window period that is free from defilements, free from hindrances. But then at that moment of time, it can able to progress before the next defilement come in. Then it bombarded the person, and then after that, clear, and then able to progress again. Something like that. So the person's practice, it is fast because of its wisdom, but difficult. Very difficult for the yogi to progress. Difficult because there's a lot of challenges that he has to overcome. Third one is weak in the defilements or weak in hindrances, but also weak in wisdom. All right, weak in the hindrances, but also weak in this one. That means, in other words, when you sit down, when you sit and meditate, the mind is very few thinking, few sleepiness. The mind can be alert, but then the wisdom power or concentration power is not able to penetrate into objects carefully, clearly, define the objects. So in other words, meditation to the person is easy because there's less challenge. Not so much challenge of defilements, but slow. Not less defilement, but yet the mind that is able to go through slow. So, in other words, it's slow, but the mind is quite pure, wholesome. No this one, but slow. The best one is, of course, the fourth one. Less defilements or little defilements, little hindrances, and strong in wisdom. That means there's not much of difficulty in progress. Very little defilement, it doesn't disturb the person, and the moment he pays attention to the object, progress already. And that one, very fast. You progress very fast. So, which level are you in now? Where do you think, which category you think you're in right now? And again here, if you think yourself as the first category, well, still don't think of it as like totally you lost hope, because those levels are not permanent level, As long as you start training, you start making your effort, and therefore that wisdom can grow into a strong wisdom, and that defilements and that hindrances can be weakened. Yeah. So it's still, this thing is still changeable, not stagnant as you know, as if like it's permanent to you. Yeah. So, other words, putting in the effort, put the effort into it, go for retreats and more retreat and more retreat. Then the only thing that you can able to truly progress. Yeah. Okay. Something like that. Next question. Please explain merits. Merit. What is sharing of merits, transference of merits, merits from wholesome deeds, merits from mental cultivation, etc.? How will merits accumulated and affect our future existences? So what is merits? Here the merits over here in Pali term, the Pali is called Patidana. Pattidana. Patidana. And it comes with two words. Pati and Dana. Pati here means a person who has accumulated something. Dana means generosity, giving. Alright? Offering. So, somebody has accumulated something and giving something, as in the Pali words. So in English translation, we transfer it as sharing of merits, or dedication of merits, or transference of merits. In Pali, there's only one term only. Sometimes in English, especially in Malaysia, the Chief Reverend K. Sri Damanda, he says that there's two terms. He says that you have a sharing of merits, and then who you share to. If they use to share it to the one that is deceased, your ancestors deceased, pass away, that means you use it as transference of merits according to them. But if you share with the devas, in that sense, then it's called sharing of merits, not transference of merits. In that term, well, in Pali, there's no differentiation in that. In Pali, when we dedicate merits, it can go into a few things. For example, what cannot receive merits first? What cannot first, and what can receive merits? And what is this merits again? This merits is like something that you accumulated from a wholesome deed, not unwholesome deed. That means wholesome deeds can be from the action, speech, or thoughts, mind. Wholesome, and that is the 3 level of merits, because 3 levels here can accumulate wholesome or unwholesome intention. And wholesome or unwholesome intention, it produces wholesome or unwholesome resultant. Or not wholesome, unwholesome. Happy or unhappy resultant. Can be wholesome, unwholesome intention producing happy or unhappy resultant. Karma, like karma. So because it's able to produce wholesomeness, then it's become powerful. It's become strong. There is an explanation of what merits and so on. If you were to go to the Buddhist text called the Milinda Panha, the questions of King Milinda, and there is one king after the Buddha's time, a few 100 years, 200 or 300 years after the Buddha's time, there's one king and there's one monk who is also Arahant. And this king asks a lot of questions to the monk, and the monk able to answer a lot of this question. So one of the question is on merits. So if you want to know, you can read it, and it's very beneficial to understand a lot of concept of Buddhism. Yeah, a lot of concept of Buddhism. Now, merits is that you accumulate is powerful. Then it's when you accumulate that, it can be shared. When it can be shared, it cannot, not every beings can able to receive it. It's just like sometimes they say that you are like a sun. The sun give out the light, but not every being beneficial from it. Some beings benefit from it, some beings does not benefit from it. The plants, the trees and so on benefited tremendously. Right? Now, in the merits, it is said that in the text that merits can be shared to the departed ones. Okay? The departed ones, when you share the merits to them, and there are some beings, some departed ones, in the more unfortunate, unhappy existences, they can able to receive the merit as if like they are food, as if like they consume it. And when they're able to consume it, they feel happy. They feel happy, then they can get better rebirth because of that happiness that they have. You know? Due to, because when I say that level of existence, it is said that this realm is a kind of like a suffering realm of beta realm, whereas they got many subdivision inside there. You know, it's all, again here is all theory. So it is says that this particular realm, this particular subdivision of that realm, that is able to consume merits of those who have, or those who shared merits to them. And when they're able to receive it, they reborn in a better planes of existence. Happiness come in. So they actually able to consume it. Now you share merits to all beings in that way. Although we share it, but actually not all beings able to receive it. Beings like animal may not able to receive it. Hell beings may not able to receive it. Even devas also, they cannot receive it also. But then, with the teachings of the Buddha, it is mentioned that the devas at one time requested from the Buddha to share merits with them. That means when you do something good, something wholesome, something purified, then you remind yourself that the devas are also sometimes, they are happy when you share merits with them. That means you kind of remember them. So when they remind you, you share merits with them, although they are happier than all of you, they don't need, in a way, your merits. Maybe they have to share with us. No, but they are more happier than us in that sense. So they don't need all these merits. But if you were to think of them, and you think of them in such a way, then they become happy. Because the Dharma is being propagated, the Dharma has been, wholesome deeds has been done. This and these certain devas, they can be happy that the humans are doing in such a way. With that also, with that dedication of merits to them, they also like, sometimes they kind of give you protection, guarding, Sometimes we do not know that how all these things are happening to us. Sometimes I also don't speculate in all these things. But sometimes in life, sometimes you avoid death. Sometimes you avoid certain things in life and so on. Then sometimes there may be unseen beings or devas, is that they are protecting you one way or another. Because perhaps, maybe, you share merits with them, they're happy, and something come in, they just push you aside, You do not know. You push you aside, then everything, all the whatever tragic things happen, and you just, you know, still alive lah, right now. So a lot of things it can help you, and we really do not know how it will help us. So we share with them. We share with them, but then again, we don't expect them to give us all kinds of protection and so on. Yeah? We, as a Buddhist, we learn the protection from the Dhamma. We learn the Dhamma as our protector, not Deva as a protector, not not Deva as your refuge. You know, you take Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha as a refuge. You know? So we don't take Devas as a refuge. But sometimes, if you are not careful, a lot of us, like, they are more attached to the Devas to give us the refuge, to give us the protection. Yeah? So that is not good. Actually, we kind of over dependent on that. Yeah? So our way is make sure that we use the Dhamma as a protection, and we share whatever the merits with them. They are happy. If they want to protect, let them be. If they want to guard, so be it. Yeah? Yeah. Also, sometimes in other places I've known, because the yogis are doing a lot of wholesome merits and so on. Sometimes the devas of the area, of the place, they help to guard the whole place and to clear a lot of unseen beings who can be quite violent and can be quite, cheeky and mischievous. So they kind of protect, they do their job in that sense, because when they do that too, helping, kind of like a service to the people who is cultivating wholesome deeds, they also receive wholesome deeds too. They receive karma too, as like a service, like just like a volunteer over here who is doing the cooking, cleaning, or whatever. They receive a lot of wholesome deeds, and they too, they know that about karma. They also do that thing to protect those who aspire to practice. Yeah. So a lot of these things are happening in in this one, the in the meditation, especially when we do a lot of wholesome deeds, taking place happening. Yeah? Now these deeds also, these merits also, one of the merits that a lot of times we overlook is always, is one of the thing that overlook is this mental purification, that it produce wholesome merits. Most of us, that we see merits is like from, we do from our hands, service, time, effort, energy, our hands, our, in that sense, because that one can be seen, can be touched, can be felt, can be sensed in that way. But the one that is produced by the wholesome mental states, we don't see people, most of us, we don't see it as a merit. Even in the Buddhist circle also the same thing. You see, every moment you cultivate, let's say, just mindfulness alone, just because the state of mindfulness is a wholesome mental state. The moment you have a single moment of arising and passing away of one unit of mindfulness, that means that one unit is already producing wholesome resultant or happy resultant in the future. Just a single moment, because it is a wholesome thing. It's being cultivated for it to arise. So this mindfulness, if you were to develop it continuously, like what you are doing over here right now, is always being produced again and again and again and again and again. We don't see the resultant of it yet, but we are beginning to produce a lot of wholesome deeds there, just by sitting there, just by walking there. We don't see it is that powerful because a lot of us, there's nothing substantial, there's nothing touch, there's no giving, there's no helping, there's no service there. It's just only sitting there, walking there. Even in certain places of even Theravada tradition, not talking about other tradition, even Theravada tradition, a lot of sometimes places, they don't see this mental cultivation as producing wholesome merits. They see, why you sit there for 1 hour, 2 hours? Why you walk there? Nothing else to do? Go and do something wholesome. Go and do something this one. Why is it keep on walking, sitting, walking, sitting, walking, sitting? What is good in that? There are places who really, meditation not supposed to be this long. You don't have to do meditation this long. All you need to do is just 1 hour per day, 2 hours per day, enough. Rest of the day, you give service, you do a lot of things in the temple. So sometimes, a lot of time people don't see the merits that accumulated from the mental development. This is something that always, quite elusive, cover up because it cannot be seen. Until one of these days, if you were to practice this mental development, whether it's vipassana or even metta or samatha, and you practice it rightly, not going into all kinds of wrong way, but if let's say you practice it rightly, the merits is accumulated is very powerful. So powerful that it comes in different forms of happiness. So powerful that these merits become so supportive directly for you to get out of this cycle of birth and rebirth. So it will, one way it will affect you in a good way. Now all these things what we say here, in a way is theory, isn't it? Can you see? We cannot see yet because we don't have the ability, we don't have the power to able for us to notice in the future lives. But sometimes you don't have to go so far in order to understand the nature of karma and its effect. What you are doing over here, let's say that day, and so many times I mentioned about the walking, sitting, the effect of karma and its resultant, you can see in this very moment itself, especially when it's connected with intention and the movement. Intention doesn't arise, movement doesn't take place. Intention arises, movement takes place. Cause, effect. Cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect. Then you see a lot of this state of mind intention, then every intention, movement. Intention, movement, intention, movement, intention, movement, intention, movement. Just as I said that day, a single movement of our arm, there's so many mind that is in between there, and every intention, it proceeds by that movement. Just by swinging of an arm, when the mind is fully alert, able to notice all how the mind and the body are interacting, are conditioning each other, then also that time you see cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect. That time, in the way, you also see how karma works. Indirectly. And of course, it will going to show you more. But this is something like in the beginning stage that you begin to see cause, effect directly within this body and mind. Until we have that other powers, supernormal powers and all that thing, then we can actually see the wholesome deeds that we done over here produce in the future. Or perhaps in the past already, you have seen you have did something good. And then you see in this present life, it manifests. And that one, you can see it through in a way like a psychic power thing, you know. But we don't have those things. Since we don't have those things, we put them aside. We learn to trust the teachings of the Buddha. But in order for us to know it deeper, we go into Vipassana, we see this thing, the formation of cause and effect, so much more clearer. Then that time, even though we see this thing in a small matter, but we understood cause effect as what the Buddha talked about, is being seen in a way. You know? So, yes. Okay. Next question. What is the difference between disenchantment from dukkha and depression about this life? That day I talked about, as you go into Vipassana, deeper level of Vipassana, you see a lot of dukkha. And many ways the dukkha will be presented to the yogis. Not just only your buttock pain, leg pain, head pain, that is just one type of dukkha. But the deeper type of dukkha, it comes with this arising and passing away, moment after moment. And the mind at times becomes so disenchanted with all this formation of arising and passing away. All this sankhara of arising and passing away is so difficult to bear up, although you could still able to notice it. So one of the things is that you feel like you are totally disgusted with it, totally disenchanted with it, right? Now here, when you experience those things, your mind is full of wisdom, full of concentration, full of mindfulness, full of a very wholesome mental states. If the mind don't have this thing, you cannot see the dukkha in that level. So it has that powerful. When you talk about depression in life, you're going through a unwholesome mental state actually. The mind is actually without mindfulness, without concentration, full of dukkha, but you are not seeing the dukkha. You see, when we say dukkha, it's not just dukkha. It's the first noble truth. The Buddha says it has to be understood. Not any dukkha. You know, you tell a child, let's say, fall down, break his arm or her arm. Very painful. Oh, you have dukkha already. You experience dukkha already. Very good. First noble truth. you go to people who are sick. Congratulations. You're having first noble truth right now. Yeah. Because you're not, that is different. Because the dukkha is not about, dukkha is about the mind that able to understood. That means the mind able to see the dukkha as it is. Being able to understood the dukkha, or able to have attention and understood the dukkha as they really are. Then it's called the first noble truth in that sense. Not just any dukkha. You experience it with a clear mind. You experience it with a clear mind, then you begin to see the dukkha as they really are. The suffering, the difficulty, you begin to notice them. Just like when you notice your pain there. If you begin to notice your pain, you pay attention to your pain and so on. Yes, now you are experiencing, that means you are in the word of the, sometimes they use the word understand. Understand here means you are seeing it as it is. You're seeing the dukkha. But after that, your mindfulness all gone. You are struggling with your pain and all that thing. That time, you're not really seeing the dukkha as it is. You are having a lot of aversion towards it already. So this time also, depression in life and so on. And also sickness and everything else. It does not mean that you understood dukkha. A lot of people go through aging, birth, what else? Sickness, death. They don't see it as dukkha. You don't see aging as dukkha also. In fact, aging, you celebrate it. Every birthday you want to celebrate. busy, they also celebrate. You want to die also, you celebrate. You're almost dying already, 80 years old. How happy, happy birthday. Just celebrate it. We don't see it as dukkha. But so other words that dukkha has to be fully seen. It's not just understood in the mind. Yes, it's good to understand in the mind that, okay, we take of old age and suffering in many ways. Yeah, at least we theoretically understand it, or we reflect on it. But it's also good to come into another level that we directly experience it in its full manner, with mindfulness, with clarity of mind, and it makes understanding of dukkha so much more deeper. Okay. All right. Next question. This is on the progress. What is the relationship between the 3 characteristics of objects and 16 stages of enlightenment? No, 16 stages of insight. Okay, vipassana insight, vipassana development. Now, if you're not familiar with the more deeper understanding of vipassana theory, progress of vipassana can be measured by different ways. One of the more common way is that they call it the 16 insight knowledge. As you progress, you notice something here, what you notice, then it shows you the progress. I didn't go through all of them because it will become very technical. Might as well we start a class in Jet Buddha Temple there. Then only when you're not meditating, then we talk about it step by step in theory. But while we are practicing, we don't have to go through all the technical terms. It's quite technical actually. So in a way, it gives you an idea how the vipassana are progressing. And I said all of us will, one way or another, you will follow that way. Whether you are a deva, whether you are a human being, as long as you do this vipassana, it will go through that way. Because it is a law of the mind, citta niyama. It's a law of the mind. So, what I put it in another way about the progress of meditation is that to show you, in relation to the practice, when you are paying attention to the object, what you are actually noticing. And when we notice it, how the different types of character, the 3 types of character will come in at the different stages. And come in at the different stages, as I said, initially you look at all the individual characteristics of the object, hard, soft, warm, cold, and everything. As you go deeper, you begin to see the object begin to change. The warm, cold, but then the warm is getting colder and colder, warmer and warmer, it's getting more, getting less, it disappears, it comes again, it starts again. Then you begin to see how these characteristics change. As you go deeper, then this warm or cold, it is not only just change in that way, but it change moment after moment. Everything is moment after moment, it's there. Momentariness of it. All these things has already happened in this mind and body already. So as you notice them, those things, in a way, it looks like a progress of your development also. So in a way, there are different way of measurement. You want to measure it in inch, or you want to measure it in centimeter, or yard, or whatever. It's just a different way of looking at development. Even in the suttas, they measure it, or they gauge the development by different level of purification also. Again, it's a different way of looking at it. So vipassana has a different, when you look at progress, you can look at it for suddenly very different thing. Of course, if you want to go much more deeper, yes, we can match we can match which insight knowledge is to which what characteristic that you're going to see. Yes, we could do that also, not to say we cannot do that, but it becomes very technical, very, very technical. Yeah? Next time. In fact, actually, you see, I talked about enlightenment yesterday a little bit. I mean, just between like 10 minutes, I kind of like wrap it up already, 9:30 already, But during the retreat, I don't talk about it so much. But during that time, when there was a COVID that time, nothing else to do, cannot give retreat. So give talk in Zoom. So during that Zoom talks, then I describe how enlightenment process go through and what consciousness is to what, and then we talk about this Magga, Pala and everything. And much more technical, in terms of at least to understand a bit of the theory there. So if you want, you go to YouTube, you go and put my name there, then you go and search there somewhere, there's quite a number of talks, and you go and look for it. A number of years ago. Yeah. Okay. Okay. At first stage of enlightenment, does one totally eradicate self-identity? If not, what stage does the self-identity totally eradicated? Self-identity. Let's say you're talking about self, an idea of a self, a soul, and so on. When you say eradication, there's a number of level of eradication also. In the Sotapanna, in the first stage of enlightenment, eradication, what it means that when the eradication of that wrong view is actually eradicate a wrong view. The view that is connected to anything that is permanent, with soul or self or eternal bliss, eternal happiness. The wrong view is totally eradicated. It's totally eradicated. But below that, there's still other views, other things has not eradicated yet. It only eradicates wrong views only. You see, as a Sotapanna, you can still have a wrong thinking, but not wrong views. Wrong view, that means you hold on to a certain view that you believe that this view is right. But a Sotapanna can still have wrong thinking, because of wrong perception is still there. So that in order to understand what happened in our mind, how this view arises, is because thinking is there, and because there's a perception is there, sanya. Then this one is mana and ditti. So the mind here is in a way that a lot of things that wrong thinking and that's connected with desire, connected with anger, those are not eradicated yet. You still have an idea to be angry, but you don't have an idea to be anything that is permanent as a self or soul. But the anger is still there. The desire is still there. The conceit, yesterday that I talked about, or the day before I talked about, the ego, still there, even for an enlightened one. Until one is an arahant, able to eradicate everything. So there's still some sense of self is still there, but not the wrong view type of self. Since you asked the question, so it's a bit, again, here, it's a different level of how our defilement take place in the mind. There's a different roots. Sometimes we just pull out a few roots here and there. Doesn't mean that you pull out everything. There's still some more to do. So more to do, that means still more to develop. Okay, next one. Wow, this one also is a bit, again, technical. Being there is no separate self. To what or whom karma is following or transferring to the next life? This is a common question people love to think. You know what the Buddha says in one of the suttas? It says that there are few things you should not overthink about it. One is thinking about Nibbana. Don't overthink it. You go crazy. Two, don't think about the jhana too much. You also go crazy. All these two is to be experienced, not to think about actually. Three, one of it is karma. Don't overthink of it because you cannot totally see everything. How the resultant of a karma come in and how everything. Why is it that you just do one smacking on the cockroach and it die, and you got so much of unhappy resultant in the future? One little smacking there, and you smack on the cockroach. And why? How come so many things? So again, here this is not 1+1 thing. So there's a lot of things are happening inside there. Again, it creates. You think of all this intricate detail of a karma, you can go crazy. When we learn karma and so on, we learn about its principle of karma. How principle of karma, that means that you do wholesome deeds, it gives you a happy resultant. Unwholesome deeds, unwholesome actions, unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome speech, unhappy resultant. Okay? So it's principle in that way. Exactly how it produced, in what way, make sure you don't overthink about it. Yes, the Buddha give a little bit of care. Of course, if you kill, then in future, the life will be shortened. The life may have a lot of disease, may have a lot of problem. Then the Buddha give you an example. Yeah. But that is not only thing that the Buddha gave you. There's a lot of things the Buddha may not able to mention everything also. But it gives you a principle that do this, resultant will be there. Do that, another resultant will be there. Yeah? So, what is transferred over? Nothing is transferred over. Then, for a lot of times, it's a bit difficult for us to hear. Because you see, yesterday I mentioned, all the 5 aggregates finally is just arising and passing away only. And all this arising and passing away is conditioned by other arising and passing away. That means the 5 aggregates is also being conditioned. The moment the person, you don't say the person, don't worry about the person. It arises and passing away until the time it becomes death. Death, the next arising and passing away begin already. Don't, let's say, not talk about the body. We just look directly into the arising and passing away of the khandas only, and it's just arising and passing away. And the moment it stops, the another arising and passing away start, and everything, because the karmic forces, wholesome, unwholesome forces, karmic forces accumulated, it produced this arising and passing away. And then now, if you look at as a being, here die, reborn elsewhere. So you got in between. So what happened in between? So if you think of it like that, therefore you're going to think about it, there must be something connecting it. There must be a kind of like an invisible thing that is connecting it. So for a lot of people, they look at it as like a soul that is connecting it. It's easier to put the word soul to connect it because it's easy to understand that. But whereas the Buddha's teaching, it says that here, all this arising and passing away, and as I said, that time it never stopped until when one experienced Nibbana. So this you don't worry about, don't think of it as far or near and so on. It's just arise and passes away. And the condition is still there, it still arises and passes away. Because of that, it produced the body, it produced the thoughts, it produced everything else. Huh? Nowadays, even like you begin to learn about science, and in the more deeper aspect of, they go into quantum science, quantum mechanics and everything. It says that if the atom, something happened there, although there's nothing connect, it can influence another atom somewhere there. And there's no connection at all. And now science, with all this technology, they can able to notice how it happened. They still have no idea. How come here experience, there also experience, and nothing in between also? So the mind also something like that, So there's nothing follow through. It's just only, the Buddha says, it's just the forces of this condition due to this karma, wholesome, unwholesome, that they have done, then it follows through. Because those things, it produce more 5 aggregates of arising and passing away. Something like that. So, if there's no, the next question is, there's no self, who is liberated? Who will get enlightened? Again here, there's nobody can enlighten. It's only we use it as a, as to describe when a person experiences Nibbana, that everything, it's free from that khandha, liberated. That means like a bird get liberated from the cage. So here the liberation here is liberated from these 5 khandhas, is liberated from this arising and passing away, and experience Nibbana as without arising, without passing away. Deathless, unborn, unconditioned. In so many names the Buddha used for the word Nibbana. It's just the very thing of no arising and passing away. Everything gets liberated or awakened in that sense. So all these things are a bit technical. While meditating, make sure you don't think of all these questions. Don't think of all this. Who get liberated? Rising, falling. How's the karma work? Don't do that. And there's a question on this also. Okay. Is it good to reflect my experience after sitting? Like to for example, like to analyze and recall the path of getting to certain point of sitting experience, or is it better to start fresh and new beginning of each sitting? Just like reflection. Now here, this type of reflection, it's good and it can be bad, depending. Let's say you sit down. If you sit down and you pay attention to objects and things are going well and so on, make sure you keep noting. You don't bring in all the dhammas and what have you learned and all that thing. Those things, even is wholesome thinking, they becomes a hindrance to your observation. Right? You just put it aside. Meditate. You finish the meditation. Okay? You get up. You know that it's a good sitting. Perhaps during this time, you can notice things very carefully, very clearly. Then you think about it. Why this sitting, it was good. Then you analyze it a little bit. Oh, maybe I do a good walking earlier on. Then from walking, I don't do anything else. I go I go slowly, mindfully to my sitting, and immediately I notice my rising, falling, and so on. Everything become very clear. So good. At least you know its causes, what to do, and you learn from it. Wonderful. Now, when you do that, after that, put it aside. Put it aside, then carry on the new experiences. Don't overthink about your experiences over there. Don't overthink, don't overjudge, and you start thinking about it. One of the problem with yogis also, and some of you, is that you love to write. Every sitting, every walking, you write. By the end of even 10 days, you already write a thesis or write a novel already. It's so thick. There's so much for you to write. Every sitting you want to write. You spend like 10, 15 minutes. You're supposed to do your walking, but you write. And a lot of thinking inside that. Then after that, you get up and to do the walking. The mind is still so much thinking. Why want to write so much? Oh, maybe if I go into interview, at least I know what I'm going to report. If I forgot everything, then Bhante says, you're a lousy yogi. Or terrible yogi. No, I'm not going to think of you like that, As long as you write 1 or 2 sentences, it's perfectly okay. Don't write until some of you not just writing experiences, but writing their reflection also. And some people not really writing their experiences, they start putting a poem inside there, Chinese poem or English poem or whatever. Because they feel so good, and then writing poem inside there. You see, nothing else to do. They write, and so this, and actually can be quite disturbing. Now, next time you want to come back for a retreat, next time, don't write so much. Just write a sentence or 2, and then if you got certain experiences, instead of writing them or describe them in so many words, next time learn to draw them. Just draw a few things. You don't have to go and describe my rising, falling was going round and round and pulling here, pulling. You don't have to write so many. If it's round, just write round, and then it goes sideways. You just do one. By the time you look at it, you know what you're writing already. You know what you're doing already. You don't have to go and describe in so detail, in so many words, just to describe one experience. You see, spend so much time on this writing can be quite disturbing. So just enough time for you to do this one, then it's good enough. Now, next one. Okay. Again, this is on the 16 insight knowledge. Vipassana meditators often speak about the stages of insight. Is it essential for yogis to acknowledge them when gaining this insight? If so, how does yogi recognize them along this path of practice? So again here, the knowledge of the whole knowledge of mental development, of this progress of insight. You learn about it, good. But should you meditate while during that time, that you keep on thinking which insight that you are in, which level that you are in. And then for the past 10 days, do my talks do it in that way? I don't do it in that way because it is not necessary for us to do it in that way. But there are a lot of people like to do it in that way because they are very eager about progress. So eager about progress, they must put a yardstick. They must put something beside it as if to know how far that I have gone in the practice. For example, some yogis in this way, they notice some experiences here and there, some pulling, some changing. Then they start thinking, I may be in the third insight already, or I may be in the fourth insight already. But where else, the yogi has not gone very far yet. Not even the first or second insight. Not even the first insight yet. But sometimes the yogi overestimate their own practice. Just because you read from the books, you read from the books, and here you experience something, and you can try to go and match it where you are. Like a yardstick, like a measuring tool, that you try to measure your progress just because by the experience. You haven't seen everything, you're already overestimating. A lot of yogis actually overestimating themselves, and they think that they're already near enlightenment already. Whereas when I hear this one, scratch my head, it's not very far yet. It's still maybe you have some practice, yes, maybe first or second, maybe. You think of it that it's almost enlightened there. So a lot of times they overestimate their practice. So best is that as best as you can, all this concept, all this idea, you put aside first. You put aside and just fully experience to what is going on. As long as you keep being mindful, the progress will reach until enlightenment. If you practice. If you don't practice, of course. After enlightenment, you can review back all the progress that you have done. So no worries. You can review exactly why they call it 16 insight knowledge also. Why is it that this is called first insight, second insight, third insight, fourth insight? Why is it called like that? Because everything can be reviewed after enlightenment. While you're not enlightened yet, keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. So, so this is something like this. I'm already tired. And the question is still got a few more to go, which I want to listen. If cannot, I'll try to do it tomorrow. Yeah, a little bit, a few more, one or two more, and also we'll come back here tomorrow morning at 8:30, right? 8:30. So you do all your cleaning, all your arrangements, and also they make sure that they want you to take all your things. Make sure you take all your things back. Sometimes, what I know from retreats, the meditator actually forget their clothing because they go and hang it and then they didn't take it back. Hang it, even the underwear and everything also they hang it there. And somebody else have to go and do it for them. So even things and so on, make sure keep everything, take everything back. Don't leave it behind. So we'll see you tomorrow at 8:30. Then we have a bit of a closing talk, a bit of question, and then after that we wrap it up and then we can leave the place. Okay? All right.